I want to talk to you today about empathy in a digital age. Empathy in a digital age is so important. It's a fundamental question of whether or not we can actually survive as a species. But before I go into any complex topics about empathy and understanding digital communication, I first want to look at communication from our ancestors and understand how they communicated. I'm going to start off with the first Homo sapien. Now this, of course, is a photo of a gorilla. It's not exactly an early ancestor Homo sapien, but it'll serve the point that I want to explain. When our ancestors were out in the wild, they had to communicate with each other through their body language, through their emotions. Because language, as we know, is a very recent invention. It didn't exist a million or so years ago. So for them to communicate, they had to understand in a split second what emotions that they were feeling, that they were experiencing. This was a question of life or death. They very well could have been a predator out in the wild, and they had to communicate with one another whether or not there was an actual threat. But along a million or so years, we evolved as a species. We civilized the world as we know it today with great technology and great buildings, and we don't really think about emotions playing such a big role in our lives. But the truth is, in fact, the opposite. Emotions are an incredible, integral part of our communication and a part of our lives. So when we look at digital communication, it may be kind of confusing because emotions aren't really present in a text message or an email. How can we sort of understand this dilemma? Let's understand how communication really works. Our ancestors in the wild, they had mirror neurons. They developed this ability over this time by understanding what emotions they were experiencing. To give you an example in a modern context, let's say I'm playing tennis against Serena Williams. And now Serena Williams is an all-time great, maybe the greatest female athlete of all time. And while she's getting ready to serve me the tennis ball, I'm standing on the baseline, I'm getting ready to swing the racket. By the way, I should note that I'm not a professional tennis player, so it's unlikely that I actually hit the ball back. But for the example, Serena is serving, and I'm standing at the baseline, I'm getting ready to swing the racket. While I'm getting ready to swing the racket, there are certain neurons firing in my brain that allows me to perform this action. Now imagine you in the stands. You're watching me play against Serena, and you see me swing the racket. In your own brain are the same exact neurons firing that allows you to experience and imagine what that motion is like, what that movement is actually like. But we can extend this idea past physical moments, past physical movements. We can look at emotions specifically. If I see that you're experiencing a certain emotion, in my brain I can imagine what that would be like. Take, for example, a mother on a plane with a newborn child. And the newborn child has been crying and screaming for the past 12 hours. We have an understanding of what that's like. Our mirror neurons are allowing us to understand and experience that emotion, despite us never actually having a child. So what happens now when we're communicating digitally? No emotions are present. You send me a text message, in a matter of seconds, I read your message, but I don't understand the emotional complexity, the emotional layers to it. To understand this dilemma, let me give you an example with a car. Let's say I wanted to understand the value of a high-priced car. But all I had were photos of the exterior. I had all the different angles and different lighting, but I had no information about the background of the driver. I had no information about the mileage. All I had were photos of the car. And I wanted to understand what was the value of this car. This seems like an impossible proposition. How could you understand this? This is the same reality that we live in when we have communication with no emotions. All we understand is the surface level, the exterior. We don't understand the complexity, the layers of the emotion. So, when we navigate in a digital space, what can we do to effectively communicate? What can we do to actually understand the emotions? The first critical area of digital communication that you first have to understand is emotional projection. Essentially what this means is we're communicating on a digital platform. Let's say it's social, let's say it's Instagram or Facebook. I see your text message and you see mine. And I don't understand your emotions. But my brain is hardwired to understand the emotions. This is something that has happened over a million or so years. So what do? I begin to project my own emotions onto the situation, onto the interaction. I make assumptions about you. I make assumptions about the situation. And because of this, I don't really see reality. I create in my own mind an interpretation of what I expect reality to be. And this can be a very dangerous path to put ourselves on. We project emotions, we delude ourselves into understanding the other person, when really we're creating a false reality. So the first step in communicating effectively on a digital platform is understanding your own emotions and how they are projecting onto the situation. The next fundamental point that I want to talk to you about is understanding the response time principle. This phenomenon that I call the response time principle is essentially this. Let's say that you send me an email, and I might take 4 hours to respond back to you, maybe even an entire day. As that time in the response increases, your ability to understand my true emotions, my instinctual response decreases. And this continues to go on. The opposite of this would be having a conversation in real life. I'm communicating with you in person. I see your emotions. I see your reaction. I'm able to understand in real time how you responded to whatever I told you. This is critically important because what this means is as time goes on in a conversation on a digital platform, we have no ability to truly understand the instinctual emotions of that person. So how can we understand people when we're faced with these two dilemmas? We're faced with the dilemma of not understanding the emotions of that person, and we're faced with the dilemma of projecting our own emotions onto the situation. So here are a few solutions. I want to go back to that analogy of the car. What can we do if we truly wanted to understand the value of the car? Well, we'd have to understand the background of the car. How long has that car been in use for? How many drivers were using that car? What was the terrain like? Was it mainly highways? Was it mainly in city driving? This is some of the information that we have to understand, which is crucial to understanding the value of the car. Applying this logic to our understanding of people and of conversations and of interactions is exactly the same. If we want to understand a person, we have to understand their background. We have to understand their childhood, their traumas. We have to pay attention to the patterns in their conversation. When we notice that there's an emotional moment that deviates from our standard understanding of who they are, we have to pay attention to this. We have to understand that this is not who they actually are. Something is changing. The next thing is to ask questions. We have to be very inquisitive. When we don't have access to so much information in the emotional complexity, we have to take one step further. We have to be very curious about the people that we're dealing with if we truly want to understand. And why is it that I'm so passionate about empathy and connecting on a digital platform? The truth is, technology will continue to evolve. But human nature cannot be rewritten overnight. Emotions are something that will always stay a part of us. So we have to understand and we have to adapt. And as technology continues to evolve at what it seems like daily, it's important for us to evolve and become human. This means being more curious, to understand the integration of emotions and logic. When you're dealing with your friends and your loved one, you have to understand that this is an important aspect of communication. Communication is a fundamental aspect of relationships, and relationships are the fundamental building block of what it means to be humans. So I hope you took and received some of the advice that I gave from this talk, and I really hope that it helps you navigate the digital platform and the digital world that we live in as it continues to shape much of our lives.